Number 10. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1.
Number 10.
And the next one is number 9. Ready?
Number 9.
You've got the pattern. Ready?
Number 8. Number 7. Number 6. Number 5. Number 4. Number 3. Number 2.
And the last one is, and finally, number 1. Are you ready?
And finally, number 1.
I think they should also do the Dice Tower episode 295 and 296.
Okay. He's the boss, you can tell.
The next line is, the Dice Tower episode 295. Are you ready?
The Dice Tower, episode 295.
And then we'll go one more, 296. Ready?
The Dice Tower, episode 296.
Perfect, thank you.
Bum, 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 bum.
And then we'll pretend they just said that, and we'll say the next part.
Right.
Or you'll say the next part.
And you guys can chat or say anything. We're going to have you guys come up soonish, so be prepared. Sitting in the back is a bad idea.
All right, everybody
I'm just
ready?
kidding, Jeff. You can sit where you want.
Oh, and welcome. Hi, thanks for coming. This is Tom. I'm Eric. Hello.
Hi.
If we haven't met yet. All right, numbers moving? They are. I'm ready when you are, Tom.
We just said the episode 295.
Yes.
You guys just said that, so it goes like this. Live from TotalCon!
Ow!
You didn't say I couldn't shout.
We all have that reaction when Tom shouts.
You didn't put a thing in.
No, I didn't.
I've never heard that one before, Eric.
Me neither.
All right. Well, anyway, folks, here we are here live at TotalCon. We're not actually live. We're live right now, but when you listen to this, we're not live, so...
So how is this different from anything else?
Because we're doing it in front of record it in front of a live audience.
There you go. They're all right here. Hi, everybody.
So, at TotalCon, there's been a lot of new games released at other conventions. Here, well, we're playing games mostly.
Yes, that's a good thing, too.
We're here to talk about some games that we have played. We've only been here for a day and a half. I spent half of that day and a half talking to people, so... Actually, I spent more than that talking to people. But we've
Again,
managed to
how is this
play
different from anything else?
A few games. So we'll start with Eric. Eric, what have you played recently?
Well, I think the game I've been most excited about and have played twice in the last 24 hours, 12 hours even, is Police Precinct. This is a brand new co-op game about police officers, and there's a murder that the whole group is trying to investigate, and you are traveling around the board and investigating in stacks of cards, and you'll draw a certain number of cards. You might find evidence, you might find nothing, and then you have to shuffle the whole thing back up again and hopefully get more evidence on the next turn. And everybody's working together to do this, but while all this is happening, there is all the regular crime in the neighborhood that is going to happen. Traffic accidents and robberies and domestic disputes that you all need to deal with as well, or else the whole city just degenerates into chaos. And it's a lot of fun.
It is.
I enjoy it. It's very thematic, and it almost tells more of a story than, say, Flashpoint Fire Rescue, which I also love, but I almost like this one better, just because it has more of an epic feel. You're traveling all over the city and dealing with things, and you might specialize. You can drive different kinds of cars. One goes faster but is less effective at investigation. So if you're a detective, you might drive the plainclothes car and drive around and try and find out information while your buddies are driving around dealing with the car accidents. It's really a neat game. We've won twice, but the first one's really close. I think more players makes this one easier. There's also a dirty cop variant.
Best way to play.
That I really want to try, but it's one of those I think you need to have played a few times with the basic before you want to bring in the bad guy. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's true. Shadows over Camelot, you can play with the traitor right off the bat. But I think with Police Precinct, you should play regular. I think it's a great game. They did a good job. There's some minor production errors.
The rule book is a little dense. It's almost huge blocks of text. Some of the diagrams are not as helpful as they could be. All of the tokens are square and the same size. and so it makes it a little bit difficult to tell them apart from a distance, but they're minor. I think the game itself is quite good.
And I think that they did a good job naming the different things in the game. It's good. All right.
So there's a Vassal Avenue in the game.
Lots of crime there. But anyhow, let's see. What have I played recently? I just finished playing a game called Exile's Son. Was that what it was called? Yeah, Exile's Son was a game in which you are basically, you've heard of 4X games before. They're Explore, Exterminate, Expand, and do technology, whatever that is. So anyway, this is a 1X game. Exterminate. There's nothing else. Nothing. Just kill. And I like it. But I mean, there's some clunkiness of the board game overall. I think it doesn't flow as much as I'd like it to flow. But the combat system is one of my favorite I've ever done. You have a bunch of ship cards that you play out there, and then you attack. You secretly pick which ships you're going to attack and which ships you're going to defend. And the other person's doing the same thing, so there's some bluffing back and forth, and it plays out really well. It's not very complicated. It looks like, Twilight Imperium when you put it out, but it's very simple. You probably wouldn't like it, but it's fun.
Well, I saw you guys fiddling with these slider cards, where you've got a big old display, and then you've got slides that move up and down within that. What does that do for the game?
Well, the slides are basically how you determine how much attack you're going to attack a ship and how much defense. I think it's actually it's a really neat mechanical thing. Some, senior citizens would have a harder time with it.
Okay.
Older folks, but most people it's pretty easy to play.
For most people, it has no problem sliding the thing around.
I would say 99.999% of ordinary, normal people
Good.
have no problem with it.
Good.
So...
I wanted to mention a victory in Space Cadets that we had that was extremely epic. I think they all end up pretty epic when you do win.
When you win.
Okay. Yes, you can lose really easily in Space Cadets, but this is the first time that I have taught the game and shepherded a team, again, without an Engelstein, to victory. And it was extremely close at the end, and ultimately that final jump was done by the youngest member of the team. I don't know how old he was. I want to say 11, 12-ish. And he managed to figure out all the cards and get that final Yahtzee to jump out of the sector and win it right before the ship exploded. It was a good time.
I still think Space Cadets would sell better if it came with an Engelstein in the box.
It would. But I think you can go and get the tutorial videos where Jeff narrates most of them.
Yeah, in fact, that's something we've been talking about lately. Is I think that almost every company, if you put out a board game at this point, there's really no excuse not to have some kind of video tutorial online. I mean, if there's any kind of complexity in the game at all.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, when we were playing Police Precinct, going back to that one, there are QR codes on each of the player cards, and if you scan those, it goes to the company's website, and you can immediately look at tutorials and get FAQs and all that stuff.
Right. Did you do that?
Well, we tried it out and went to the website just to see what it would do. Oh. You see a QR code, and you're like, whoa, where's this going to go? I think there's a lot of design space there for using QR codes. We were talking at the table.
No.
What would happen if you...
We do not want a QR code-based board game. Please do not do it. I will not review it. Yeah, I will. But don't give people that idea. No.
You'd scan it. It would take you to a page, and you'd learn more information about the game. Get a
they
special
already have
clue.
that. It's called an internet. You just click the link. It's the same thing.
But you don't have to do any typing. You don't have to use your fingers. You could push the button on the QR scanner with your nose, and you'd go to where you want to be.
What else have you played?
For this.
What else have you played? Please, folks, that's a bad idea.
A Wild West themed party game called Wild Fun West. You talked about this in the show some time ago, and
it's a great game. It's made by the same folks who made Exodus Proxima Centauri.
Yes, you are trying to get buildings built, but you do this through bidding. And anytime there's bidding, I have trouble with bidding. Especially closed bidding that you lose your bid on. And I lost all my money very early, and I was disappointed for a good portion of the game. However, the game itself...
No. Sourpuss sitting over there with an angry look on his face for half the game.
I may have looked a little angry and disappointed.
Until he got all the money. Happiness and rainbows.
It's true. There was one... I had the character that if the bank got built, I got 15 gold, because I would rob it. And... I didn't actually build the bank. Everybody else built the bank for me. I think they felt sorry for me.
No, I did not. But I also tried to stop the bank from being built.
There's a lot to keep track of in this game. And in the low lighting room that we were in, it was a little tricky just to maintain, does that character affect me? There are these characters that one can assassinate the other and keep one off the table, and knowing how the different powers on the table interact is tough, but it's almost that you shouldn't have to worry about that for this type of game. It's so light, you almost just have to just jump in, and those interactions are part of the fun. Oh, you can't play that because I have this. Oh, playing this knocked you out. Oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. Oh, I got money for this. You got money for that. That's just the way it needs to be played. It's very light. It's not really my style of game, but I can see how it would work with a gamer party sort of situation. Refresh your script. I changed it.
I was wondering why you have different things than I do. You're not talking about the... Okay. Well, let's talk about one more game that we both participated in.
Let's do that.
And that is Reverse Charades, which is a great game, and I'm ashamed of all you who didn't come.
Yes.
But... It was really fun.
Yes. We were trying for like a team reverse charades competition, and we ended up using the app. I didn't realize there was a reverse charades app that you can just download the whole thing. And so Tom was standing there with his screen, running the whole thing, and the different teams were acting things out in this very room. Just imagine it, how it was. And had with only 8 people, it was still a good time, but you could see it sort of morph. At the beginning of the game, everyone's sort of standing around trying to do individual charades.
Right.
You sort of think, well, I'm the only one that can make this idea come across. And you're standing there doing regular charades and willing the person in front of you to guess it, completely forgetting that there's 2 or 3 people next to you that can help. But there were some really nearly impossible clues that came up, like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
That's only because the people doing it just didn't do a good job.
They just stood around playing air guitars and hoping somebody would guess it. Air guitar.
That's a fair...
Air guitar?
Well, we might actually... I'm trying to see if I can set up another game of this when there's more people here. This room is occupied for the next couple days, but maybe we can do it in the big room and be disruptive. So look for us late tomorrow night. Maybe we'll do it. Tonight, of course, is Wits and Wagers.
Of course.
8 o'clock. So make sure you come to that.
I hear that's a good game for a convention.
Well, speaking of... Okay, this has nothing to do... This is a horrible segue, but let's listen to some of our contributors now. All right, so then we pause there. The chief says, I like Kickstarter games. Here's some Kickstarter games. Okay. Then Giles says, they should make something called Kickstopper, where you will make a really bad game unless people pay you. And this is an original idea, except it's not. Someone already said it.
Someone said it like 50 episodes ago.
Let's have the... Not Just Another Gaming Podcast. I forgot the name of your show.
You always forget the name of their show.
Well, they should have named it shorter.
How long? He's wearing a T-shirt with the name of his show on it.
On each side.
on your lap.
You can stand there or on either side. We'll pick you up.
Stronghold or something. I can never remember.
Who cares?
What?
He's playing Spartacus. I mean, he's busy right now.
Where is he?
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, he's not
showed.
here. I think I broke it.
It's normal. It's like our normal show. He shows up.
He's in the arena.
He shows up every couple episodes.
All right, we ready to continue?
Yes, first I'm going to say something about Giles, and then we'll continue on.
You got it.
Well, okay. Giles, that's not original. You're not the first person to say that. I've heard that a couple years ago. Also, it wasn't that funny, was it?
Well, he said it with an Australian accent,
That's
so that
true.
makes it
That
at
makes
least
everything
20%
better.
funnier.
You're right.
Yes.
Okay. So,
We're joined now by one of our guests for the show. We have Jeff Scott and Jim Reed from Not Just Another Gaming Podcast, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. I'm doing this intro because Tom always screws up their name. Guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, actually, Tom never remembers my last name, even though I have 3 first names, so he could pick any one of them.
actually, I call him Jim and him Jeff.
I know, I'm so insulted half the time.
All right, well, what we want you guys to talk about, or just talk about, is basically what the convention so far, shameful secrets of things that have happened, exciting things, you know.
I'm glad you gave me like 3 seconds to prepare. That's
I told you yesterday we were
Did
doing
you not
this.
know you were going to be on the
Actually,
show?
I'm pretty sure I told you
what I was
like a
going to
week ago.
say.
Okay, well then, that's okay. So thank you. Jeff,
Yes.
what about you?
Well, I have absolutely no notes whatsoever, but I can tell you my convention so far.
You don't need notes.
Best game so far
I
for
know
you.
you don't need notes. I've been watching you look at none of yours.
No, but you don't need notes to talk about the game. What games? Look, here's my notes. Police Precinct, Space Cadets, Wild Fun West.
Talk about relieving Eric. Sorry, wrong one.
Actually, I should probably mention, for those of you who may have heard rumors about a feud between Tom and myself, these are nothing but vicious lies. Also, the meeting that we had talked about with some of you, it's happening over there, 8 o'clock, okay? Okay, 8 o'clock. Continue.
A couple of games I got a chance to play. You had already mentioned Exile Sun, as well as Police Precinct. Now, is that a 2013 release, Police Precinct?
Yes, I had originally said it was 2012, but it didn't hit the stores till basically this week.
Yeah, it just came out.
So they asked that we consider it a 2013 release.
So that will probably be my first 2013, must pick up. I really enjoyed it. You had said it was sort of like Flashpoint, and you keep kind of comparing the two, and I think there's way more difference there. I didn't feel like I was kind of playing the same system.
Yeah, it's actually a bigger area that you actually.
Yeah,
work with.
it fits that same feeling in my heart.
Right.
I'm putting out a fire, and now I'm arresting crooks. Those are both things I wanted to do as a kid.
Wow, that's stretch.
Didn't you?
That's stretch. No, I had other goals in mind. I've already accomplished.
You wanted to start the fires and be the crook.
It actually has a lot to do with thieves. I felt that similar mechanism of searching for the evidence cards is similar to digging on those adventures for thieves as well.
Yeah, I also enjoyed the co-play too, or co-play.
Copay?
Cooperative play, where everyone can actually plan strategies and figure out, okay, I'll go here, I'll go there. You got a lot more interaction with other players than just you figuring out, okay, I'm going to go and do this and not tell anybody. Type stuff. It's more open.
Did you play the trader version?
No, unfortunately, according to Eric, that you don't do that on the first play. Only because they probably would throw me in the brig. But anybody that knows me understands where I'm talking from.
We will try it soon.
What, throwing me in the brig, or
Yes.
play with the trader?
Did you play with the trader?
No, I played the same game as those two, and they would also not let me play the trader.
Well, you'll be on later. We'll let you talk about that. All right. Any other great games, like tower defense type games, maybe?
I know where you're going, Tom. I was actually going to go there. Don't worry. I'm going to mention Mage. What was that game again?
I don't know. That's why I asked you.
I think Mage Defense.
I think it's Mage Tower.
Thank you. At least someone's paying attention. But yes, I got to play that. That was actually my first time playing it. It was you taught it, and my fiance and I actually played it, and we actually really enjoyed it. We thought it was really fun. Simple to figure out, not too complicated. It's one-on-one, or you can actually have co-op play again, so you can actually have teams. I thought the mechanics was actually pretty well. Monsters come out, you try to stop them before they basically kill you. I had a great time playing it.
Yeah, it's a Kickstarter that just came out. I previewed it back when it was a Kickstarter. It was a good game. I wish they had not used clip art for everything. I mean, it's good clip art.
Yeah, well,
they've taken like pictures from famous paintings and things, and I still think they shouldn't have designed the cards to look kind of like a Magic card. They're almost they all. But it's a good game. It's very interesting, and I'm enjoying this. All right, so okay. Any last words? Things that you want to say? Plug.
No, I'm good. Check out our show, NJAGP.com.
See, even you can't remember.
Over there. No, I just like to pronunciate. I'm not very good at it.
It's a very dramatic P.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and definitely listen to the next episode we're going to do where we talk about TotalCon and my experience with dealing with Ultimate Werewolf. So anybody here can actually play that.
You're running the game tonight, right?
That's why it's going to be awesome.
Okay.
He's going to run the first game where we use every single roll at the same time.
That sounds
gonna be
exciting.
utter chaos.
That would be pretty. Yeah, you have fun running that. All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, so you guys.
Let's go to the news. Oh, I didn't actually. What?
I thought we had to do the intro for that too.
Oh. Yeah, we need to change that intro. It's getting kind of old.
Oh. Yeah, but that's one of the best things I ever produced. That's what my wife always says. The intro for the news.
That's actually the intro for the questions. Intro to the news is,
right.
is Elliot.
It's just Elliot, yeah.
He does the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And that is good. And did she tell you that was the best thing you've done?
The best thing I've ever produced for the show is the questions. Mr. Vassal, are you secretly
All right.
Renner Knizia?
Let's. Okay, so the news, which.
Well, we can talk about the legendary.
Right. Well, no, I had. Okay. All right, folks, it's time for the news. We have lots of things to talk about. Actually, not a lot to talk about because we're at TotalCon, but I'm still keeping an eye on the news.
He checks his email like every 8 hours.
You can find the news, of course, at GameBugle.com. We have a lot of it there. We put up a lot. The biggest news as of today is that Upper Deck has announced an expansion for Marvel Legendary. We now know that Apocalypse and Kingpin will be in it, which are two of the best villains, except Kingpin, in the Marvel Universe. Actually, Kingpin's a pretty good Marvel Universe. Not in the movie of Daredevil, which was a bad movie generally, overall.
We're losing track here.
Yes, we are. I'm trying to talk while I'm looking up the rest of the news. Keep going.
There's 17 new heroes, I believe. And one of the criticisms of the expansion was the amount of art used for the different hero cards. I know you don't agree with that. I sort of agree with it a little bit. When we were trying to play, if you're sitting far away from the board, you can't necessarily read what each individual hero card does because there's 3 or 4 different Wolverine cards. And just because you can tell it's a Wolverine card, that doesn't tell you what of the Wolverine cards it is. So they're going to have, I think, 4 different pieces of art for each hero. So you may have a little bit more of an idea of what that particular card's going to do. I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, and a couple other Kickstarters have started over the last couple days. I see Oz, Deck of Thieves. There's not... Okay, I lied when I said there was a lot in the news. Hasn't been a lot of news this week, but there's been a lot of games that have been announced. There's a lot of, expansion talk has been coming. So they keep showing off these new Star Wars models, tempting everybody. I think they were supposed to be released like a month ago, and they keep showing them off. So I'm sure as they show up, they are going to sell out really quickly.
Of course.
In the Dice Tower news, we've added a few new shows to the Dice Tower Network, so check that out at dicetowernetwork.com. And since we have a few of our guys with us, we'll have one of them come, and we're going to do that right after this. We then listen to Mary talk about things you can roll dice in.
I think you get it at Pottery Barn.
And then Brian talks about the Omega Virus. Has anyone here played the Omega Virus? Huh?
You have it in the trunk?
The Omega Virus is a game that you're trying to move through this maze type thing, and it's the most deliberately annoying computer voice ever designed. I mean, it like, sorry, you can't do that. I don't know, I can't do the voice, but it's really annoying.
Brian actually puts clips of the computer voice in his segment. It's from the 1980s, right?
It's got the fold in, fold out.
Yes. All right. Well, now it's your turn, sir. Anthony Ricotta from the... Well, actually, I'll say that in a second.
Let's let him sit down first before we introduce him.
Now we have another guest, Anthony Ricotta from the Cardboard Jungle. He's going to wear that same shirt the whole convention.
I have 3 of them.
Do you really?
That's a good idea. It just looks like he's being a slob.
So apparently I am the 0.01% because I could not figure out that exile sliding thing.
Well, I wasn't gonna call any names. I wasn't gonna say anything.
I did have my fingerprints removed, so maybe that was the reason why I couldn't move anything. But,
all right. Well, what have you played? Did you like Exile Sun other than the fact you can't move those dials?
I like the combat. It is a little slow if you're not involved in it. You're kind of just sitting around, hanging out. If there's 2 combats going on, which we had at one point.
Well, that was partially your fault. You were not pursuing combat. Had you, girded up your chicken heart and got into combat, you would have been in fight. You would have been fighting.
Well, Paul and I, for the first turn, decided to go ahead and bulk up our ships. So we drew more ships to put into our fleets for that second battle. You and Jim just decided to go after each other.
That's right.
Some pent-up anger.
That's
issues.
right. Well, no, but
I didn't say on your part.
What else have you played?
Well, we got it actually early on Wednesday night, and we did play Exodus Proxima Centauri. And what I decided to do in that, everyone else was bulking up their ships to fight. I took the passive-aggressive phase there, too.
That's so lame.
Yeah, but I did end up with 6 rockets that could blow up other planets.
That's not passive-aggressive.
Well, I wasn't attacking anyone. I wasn't a threat until the end of the game.
You're
when I
building
tried
missiles.
To take everybody out.
That's aggressive, sir.
It's an extreme defensive position.
It was just for scientific reasons. I was just checking the technology.
Have you not watched Star Wars? Blowing up planets is not considered a good guy thing. Well, did you like the game?
I did. I enjoyed it a lot.
Did you win?
No.
So passive aggressive, this works.
I was close though.
Doesn't matter.
I couldn't get to read. So
good job, sir.
He pigeoned himself in the corner over there. I did play Police Precinct with the Trader Cop.
How does that work?
Well, I will understand why you shouldn't do it on your first time playing, because the person who was the traitor cop basically gave himself up.
Maybe he felt remorse.
Well, he drew 5 cards for evidence, 6 cards for evidence, and only put 1 piece of evidence out. So
it can happen.
Later he told us there was only 2 pieces of evidence in there in the first place, but we basically knew at that point he was the guy. So, but we did lose anyway, even though we discovered.
So he won. So he did a good job.
Well, we lost because we had a riot break out in the streets, and the thugs kept coming out with every emergency. I will have to say that do not drive on Vassal Avenue. There were like 8 car accidents that happened there.
You know what though? This is the mark of a good game. If you listen to him talking about the game, he says there was some accidents and the thugs and a riot broke out. He didn't say we moved 3 pink cubes next to the 2 yellow cubes over, and then I scored 3 victory points, and the other guy only scored 2. Because those don't make good stories. Games should make good stories, and I think Police Precinct does that. And you don't know whether to agree with me or not.
I don't know what to do, because I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think that victory points are a bad thing.
No, I don't. I think that a game should leave you with a story. Not always. I mean, I think there's some games you play and you just play for the mechanics. But I think a great game leaves you with a story. A story you can talk about the next day, not, I picked I picked this character 4 times in a row. Were people surprised?
I scored, I believe, 52 points in 1 turn in Copycat.
285 Ticket to Ride on the airplane here.
Okay.
Woohoo!
The other good thing about Police Precinct is you can play in character.
You can. Silly, yeah.
So I did play in character the whole game. Nobody else wanted to do it because they're boring.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can play Dirty Harry. You can, there's so many.
Police chief.
Oh, it's true. You got the guy yell at you, demand your badge
I was
and
just
gun.
calling everyone punks and spoiled brat and kids.
Alrighty.
Although you can do that in Flashpoint Fire Rescue as well. You can break out all the backdraft characters.
Well, is there anything you wanted to plug and promote?
I think Eric's awesome. I just wanted to say that.
I thank you for promoting
And I'm
me.
very happy to be sitting next to him. We're part of the Dice Tower Network. I'm very proud to be on it. You can check us out at thecardboardjungle.com and follow us on Twitter at CBJ Podcast.
Alrighty.
All right.
Speaking
Thank
of
you.
how awesome Eric is, let's take this show down a notch. Live.
Gather round, children. I decided to... Oh, no. Yes? What? I'm going to start again.
Okay.
I decided to tell my story.
Yeah, he was ready the intro.
I was reading the intro.
Go ahead.
Gather round, children. It was time for National Block Party 2012. I look forward to this event each year since it's 3 days of nothing but gaming. The highlight for me is the Euro Ironman tournament. This tournament features several board games with the winners and losers scoring points based on how they placed in each game. At the end, the player with the most points wins the tournament. Having just missed the victory last year, I was hopeful this year. One of the games we were playing was Alien Frontiers, one of my favorites. I was looking forward to a fun, exciting, and relatively short game. We thought we could get the game in just before dinner, grab a bite, and then go play more games. How wrong we were. We gathered round the table, chose our colors, and began. I went first and took my turn very quickly. I mean, after all, it's the first turn. You only have 3 dice, so it should go quickly. The next player played quickly, as did the third. Then it was the 4th player's turn. We'll call him Bob. He rolled his dice and paused. He looked at the dice and then at the board and back to his dice. He rubbed his chin. What's he doing? I wondered. He shouldn't be taking this long to take his first turn. He finally placed his dice and play went quickly until, you guessed it, it was Bob's turn. The more dice he got, the longer his turn took. He wouldn't take the hints we tried to subtly give him. After one particularly long turn of his, I took mine very quickly, and one of the players said, I like a man who is quick and decisive. My reply was, yes, it helps move the game along. Obviously, that made no difference to Bob, since he continued taking very long turns. Eventually, the other players would get up from the table and watch the other games being played while Bob took his turn, leaving me there to be bored to death in what should be a fun game. 3.5 hours later, the game was finally over, and as horrifying as it may seem, Bob won! The rest of us didn't care. We just wanted the game to be over. Shorter headphone cord.
See, we're just going to do a whole show of that. All right, it's time to let's lighten the mood and talk about some party games. And then the party game guys come on, and what'd they say?
They said they were talking about how it's not necessarily a must that a party game have tremendous replay value.
That's right.
That there are lots of games that are good just, for example, they talked about Crappy Birthday. The game from North Star, that it works really well with one group once, and then you can try it with a different group once, but it's not the sort of game that you want to play over and over and over with the same group.
But they said since it was $15, that's taking it to a party is like bringing several bags of chips and stuff, and
Or a bottle of wine.
So what's the why complain if it only has one? I'm not sure I completely agree with that, but I see their point. I really do think this, though. People complain, they'll say, well, I've only played this game 4 times. But you got 4 plays with 4 people that lasted 2-3 hours, and these same people go to the movies and buy buckets of popcorn for huge prices. It's ridiculous.
But at the same time, what do you really need for replay value out of a game? I mean,
one good game is all you need.
Different players are going to be a different experience, even if the game doesn't change at all. Do we really need to have random events and new expansions coming in all the time? Can't we just play with different groups of people and enjoy it in a different way?
Now you're talking crazy.
I'm talking crazy?
Really? So when the Merchants of Venus expansion comes out, you won't buy it?
Well, that's talking crazy.
They haven't announced a new Cosmic Encounter expansion yet this year. I'm a little worried. Well, anyway, folks, let's get back to talking about the con. Ha ha! All right, now we have Dan Yarrington and Andy. You get to come up. Ha ha. It's a punishment to be on our show.
What? Let me just do a quick stop and save.
You want me to sit in Dan's lap?
Yeah.
Kneeling at his feet.
Like every Thursday.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
I don't even know it.
All right, just remember, face that way when you talk.
All right, folks, with us now we have Dan Yarrington, who's supposedly part of the Dice Tower Network.
Supposedly.
Well, we haven't added you officially because we're waiting for a new podcast. Once that comes.
Well, yes, we have to transfer over. John Richard is patiently working through the 300 plus shows that we had to transition over to the new feeds, but
So we're working on the back catalog of Myriad Games Presents or Myriad Games Presentations.
Myriad
Is that
Games
the old-
Presentations is actually a series of podcasts. The primary one that most people are familiar with is Session Impressions, which effectively just talks about games, like a review. And then we have Game Gab, which is an interview series. We have Table Talk, which talks about general topics. And then we have a couple other smaller ones like Listener Appreciation. And we also have 28 Games Later, which is all about games that you played a long time ago and you can't remember kind of if you like them or not.
All right, well, we also have with us Andy Royal, and I had him on here because I wanted to ask him a question. So a guy from Belgium emails me, and he says, I want to buy Nothing Personal or something. He says, but the shipping is outrageous. Why is GameSalute charging us so much money for shipping, sir?
Well, that's a good question. Specifically, export rates prices are rising all the time.
Yeah, I heard that the post office just went quite a bit higher.
January 27th, the post office raised all international rates by 2 to 3 times what they used to be. So something you could send for $25 shipping, which is actually relatively cheap for like a 5-pound package, could now cost you somewhere between $5 to $80, or $106 if you ship it to Denmark for I don't know what reason.
Whoa!
Wow, $106 to ship a package.
Yeah.
So what's the answer to this then, Dan? Since you're the logistic guy, what's the answer to?
So really there's It's a really tough challenge, right? Because you're in Japan and like we don't know what all the customs laws are for every country. So the other complaint is not just the cost of shipping, but the brokerage fees that if you send it through FedEx or UPS, a courier, so to speak, you send it through there, they're going to get brokerage fees and then also customs. Now the customs, we get this all the time. People say, why can't you just mark my package as a gift? I donated money to your campaign. Like, yeah, sure. Let me get around sales tax the same way. I walk into a store. Here, I'm going to give you $50, and you just give me that game, and then I don't have to pay sales tax. That doesn't fly. But the customs charges that they charge are determined by the individual country, so we can't impact those. But we can ship from within. This is what we're rolling out now. It'll be effective in about a month. It starts with the Zpocalypse campaign that we're doing, and this will be shipping from depots within given countries. So we're setting one up in Canada, we have one in Australia, and we have one in Europe. So everything within the EU will ship out of Germany, and it'll go, because it's within the EU, we're already rolling in VAT, we're effectively paying that for the backer, and then because it's in the EU, you generally don't have brokerage fees or customs charges. So that's not 100% because every country is different. So if you get a customs bill, it's not our fault. But really, like, we don't want these things to be expensive, and really no company does. So generally, if you see something being expensive, it's because you're around the world. If I ordered something from Australia and I had to pay $75 to have it shipped to me, and it weighed 6 pounds, I'd be like, yeah, I ordered it from Australia. So that's really the challenge, that people are used to getting those things within their own country and they just don't see that. We also don't have any custom charges in the US generally on board games. It's duty free. So we never understand, like, why do you get customs charges? Well, because in Belgium they have customs charges or whatever the law is for that place. So that's what we're doing to try and solve that. But it doesn't affect everywhere. If you're in South Africa or something, you're still going to have to pay shipping and customs, and it'll be expensive. We offset that as much as we can, but we can never make it cheaper than it is.
Right,
So.
and it's not a good solution. A lot of companies I talk to say that they spend more money on shipping 10% of the orders which are international than the other 90% which are in North America. Also, though, let's say Kickstarter finishes and they sell 5,000 games. And I know you started packing those on Monday. Why haven't I got it by Wednesday? No, but I mean, seriously, how long does it tell us, like, a little bit of, like, how much work it is to get a package out and sent to people?
Yeah, well, generally we know the dimensions of what we need to ship because almost no Kickstarter is self-contained. There's always some kind of doodad or promo that you have to include in there. So we try to have all the packing supplies on hand once we have the backer files and know how many numbers we need to ship here, there, or everywhere. And then basically, a big part of the first day is building a large supply of boxes, which doesn't seem like a very big task, but when you're talking about something like ZPOC where you're bordering on 2,000 units, that's like you have to build 2,000 boxes. It's not going to happen just in a few days. It depends on complexity of campaign. If there's a ton of promos and they let you do a la carte and you wanted 3 blue dice and he wants 2 red dice, the whole special packing to ensure that everybody gets what they're supposed to get and nothing's left out also complicates factors as well. If a campaign is you get this game in a promo, and if you got 2 games you get 2 promos and et cetera, on down the line, that's easy. We can do those campaigns. You could do 500 units maybe in a couple days, no problem. So,
and this is why, for those of you listening, that some of you have not yet gotten Dice Tower. Probably none of you have stuff because we did it. We did so many different things. Some people got dice and cards, and so we have to make sure that that's all separated properly and the right people get the right things because.
And that's what takes the most time. So Robert Burke, who did Cartoona, which we were just fulfilling, he came up to do some signing and he was helping out packing things. And so in concept, he had, 13 levels or something. And she's like, oh, these aren't that complicated. Like, you just include this tile and then this card and then this sticker and then this thing. And as we're working through it, he goes, literally, in the course of a beginning of a day, he starts out and he's like, oh, this is pretty easy. And then by the end, he's like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never, ever doing this. So it's so complicated and it feels so easy. That's why people do it. Because in the middle of the campaign, oh yeah, no problem. Everybody gets a red version of the game. They're going to get 2 blue dice and then a green die if it's Tuesday. They'll do things like that. If you pledge by this date, then you get this thing.
Oh,
and
man.
it just makes no sense at the end. So what you see is smart companies like, if you watch Dice Hate Me games, you look at their campaigns from Carnival to Viva Java to now their latest Compounded, they get simpler and simpler. because they realize, like, oh man, that really is a pain to do all the stuff that you're doing now for the Dice Tower campaign.
Thank you. All right, well, before we let you guys go, anything else you want to say? Any great games you played? There's a Hawaiian game you played. It was really good. Say
No,
it.
I don't think that happened.
So
You played a great Hawaiian game. I did not.
I can't remember the name of the game now.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Seriously?
Well,
It's like History of the Island.
it's not on my show notes.
Spirit of Hawaii. It's called Aloha Spirit of Hawaii.
Yeah, it's
by
from Blue- you
Panther.
didn't even
Play it.
Panther.
How do you know that?
Because I talked to Steve.
Oh, okay.
Anyhow, it's from Blue Panther Games. It's a game about taking Hawaii from the original days where Hawaiians controlled the islands to where I guess the white people came in and ruined everything. I mean, really, that's really the plot of the game.
That's the last.
Thank you. But the game's mostly about area control and a little bit of fighting, and there's some rolling of dice in it too. I thought it was a really interesting product. Everyone else was not as impressed. I mean, they're pretty close impressed, right? This is audio.
This is all quiet. So as far as games that I've played that I've been having a blast, the card game of Oz is our latest campaign. It's up on Kickstarter, and that's one that I've been playing a lot because it was leading up to launch. So very light, wacky game. If you think, like some of the people that are commenting on this, that it's a living card game, it's not. You don't build your own deck. You just do all the crazy things. You roll story dice, you get points, you play crazy cards, because that's what happens in Oz. And if you're not familiar with the books of Oz, not just the movie, there's crazy stuff like porcelain dogs. And
Oh
all
yeah, the
sorts
books
of-
are great.
So this is all based off the book. So that's
I
what
hear.
I've been playing a lot of.
All right. Well,
Very
thank you
nice.
guys for
All
coming
right,
on the
thanks,
show.
guys. Have a good rest of the
Thank
show.
you.
And we'll kill you in Werewolf tonight. All right. Well, at this point in time, we normally go to our question of the week, but we don't have a question of the week. Instead, we're going to take live questions. Vanna over here is going to come around with a recorder, and you can say your question to her. Jim Reed,
I'm gonna do a quick pause.
Jim
here.
Reed does the
Hang on.
He's Vanna later tonight at Wits and Rangers.
at Wits and Wagers. Okay.
It's not gonna be that big of a mystery. We're gonna reveal the list in like 45 minutes. Okay.
Are we back on?
Yes. So ordinarily we do a question of the episode at about this point in the show, but since we have an audience, this is your opportunity to stump Tom Vassell. Who wants to go first?
Wow, that's pretty easy. All right, go ahead and.
Yeah, and now just say your name, where you're from maybe, and then what your question is.
I'm Thomas Savgis. I'm from Massachusetts, and my question is, what's your favorite game?
Oh, come on! Did you pay him? Come on!
I think it's a good question to start with. Maybe people don't know.
If this is your first time listening, we talk about I didn't do that. We talk about board games. Anyhow, my favorite game is Cosmic Encounter. I'm hoping to play a game of it here. Someone told me they would bring it. I don't think it's going to happen today, but tomorrow. Cosmic Encounter.
With double rolls, right? That's what
right.
you're talking about?
I'm hoping to play with people, and we can play with 2 powers per alien.
That sounds exciting.
You can play with 3.
I could.
That's okay. What's your favorite game?
My favorite game, maybe you haven't heard this recently, but there's this pick up and deliver game called Merchant of Venus. The classic version of Merchant of Venus is my favorite game, and I think it's probably going to stay there for a while.
I'm happy when he says it now. He gets a $5 fine. It's like,
Well, I never signed anything regarding that.
okay. All right. Anyone else? You can ask anything, really, and if we don't know it, yeah. We don't. Yes. Oh, wow, you were sitting in a chair. Dead air.
I feel bad because last year somebody asked about my favorite podcasts, and I never said This American Life. I'd like to correct that right now. This American Life. Let's pretend it's last year.
When are we going to do that parody? You got to do a show.
I would love to do a This American. I always want to do a convention show as if it was an episode of This American Life.
Oh, and real quick before we answer the question, if anyone here sees us acting like idiots, like we hate each other over the next day, it's actually for a video. So if you hear Jeff screaming for no reason, that's why.
Good cover. Good cover.
Yeah, at least I'm going to get arrested.
All right, what's your question?
My name's John, and my question is, either of you guys, how many drawers or containers do you have of kind of miscellaneous, random, or wayward pieces? I imagine it's probably a decent amount.
Want me to go first? Because I bet mine is smaller than yours.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have 2 Plano boxes and a cardboard box of random components and dice. Tom?
I have a drawer that's 6-sided dice. Then I have a drawer that's cool 6-sided dice. Those are like the ones that are shaped funny, or they have Dice Tower logos or other logos from podcasts I like. Then I have 8-sided, 4-sided, and 10s. And then I have 12s and 20s together, which I shouldn't do because 12s and 20s look similar.
They look similar. It's hard, yeah.
Then I have a drawer full of cool dice, like 100-sided or dice inside dice. Then I have a drawer full of wooden cubes, which is pretty bad. It's like a drawer of shame. But occasionally we need cubes for something, and I have several thousand. I don't even know where they all came from. Then I have a drawer full of wooden meeples type stuff, whether it's meeples or alligators or lightning bolts or whatever I have from bad games that didn't make the anywhere. Then I have a plastic piece drawer of plastic soldiers and airplanes and such. And I have a plastic chip drawer, which is where I keep chips in case I need like white chips or red chips or money chips. Then I have a drawer of cards that are the blank cards you get in games that you say you will keep because you will use them if you ever ruin a card in a game, and you never do. And also some decks of Ticket to Ride cards that I can't bring myself to throw out yet because I combined all my Ticket to Rides into one big game. But still. And then I have a drawer full of... Then I have the lost bitch drawer. What this is I'm walking in a room vacuuming and we find a piece. I'm like, I'm not really sure off the top of my head what game it's from. It's probably important, so I throw it in that drawer so that when we play a game, I'm like, we're missing a red bead. I can look in that drawer and it's not there, but at least that's where it should be.
I'm surprised that you lose pieces on the floor. You're always so careful with your games, Tom.
Now look, I am careful, and it's the kids. Then I have a drawer, then there's other drawers. There's a drawer full of super glue and game fix-it materials. There's rubber bands in a drawer. There's all kinds of stuff. But that's the game pieces specific drawers. And you know what? I really like having, in fact, I had a whole lot more. I threw away a big tub of pieces because I just wasn't, I had Scrabble pieces and all that. You're never going to use that stuff. So I just kept the ones I thought I might use, which sadly included cubes.
Aren't you glad you asked?
Hi, I'm Matt Thompson from Medway, Mass. And my question is, before the convention, how firm are you about your goals to accomplish at the convention, other than these events? I want to play these 5 games at this convention. And how often what percentage of that list comes to fruition?
Okay, well for me, Eric and I have a convention schedule now because I'm really bad at this sort of thing.
So I need to organize, yeah.
Eric keeps me in track, we need to be here at a certain point. Other than that, I now make no plans. Because people start talking to me, which is a lie. It's usually me start talking to people. But then I go around a video, and I don't like to be tied to saying I want to play things because I'm in a fortunate position where I play games all the time. The guy comes to my door trying to sell me something, he just sit down and play a game. I play games all the time, so I don't need to play them here as much. I try to play the convention games sometimes, but I don't feel bad if I don't. Like what I've been doing today and yesterday is I've been playing games I need to play test, but I would have done that whether I came to this convention or not. I just get to play them with people who are fun. Gaming group, you're fun at home too. But what I mean is I get to play them with different people I see, some of you once a year.
I made a list and I crossed out none of them so far.
Yeah, and sometimes you want to play a specific game and it just doesn't work out or no one else, or there's even a funner game.
Yeah, somebody, you get drawn toward the shiny objects. I understand.
I do.
I make a list too. I come with I don't know if you've seen my tub, but I've got a big old Tupperware tub full of stuff that I intend to play at some point. I always have such vast plans before an event like this, and it never happens because a lot of the games are longer and you never quite have the right amount of time or the right number of players. And yeah, I get a lot played, but it's probably about 50%. And that may be optimistic.
So since I have lower expectations, I do better at conventions.
Yeah. I always go back with a bunch of games that I have not yet played.
All right, anyone else?
Right up front.
Are you sleeping back there? Oh, you're writing your own question?
Quick, someone on that side of the room asked next. Jim's wife coach said, make him run around a lot.
Hi, I'm Nick Abgis from Bridgewater, Massachusetts, and a follow-up to the drawers of junk question. How about, like, in Days of Wonder, you get the cards that are ads for other games, but they're not actually part of the game? Do you keep those?
I used to use those when I ran a board game club at school, I would put those up as my advertising cards, even if I didn't have the games. I just put those up. Now I angrily hurl them away and say, advertise in your own time, sir. I don't want. I hate when I'm drawing cards for a game and I draw an ad for another game. I will show them and not play that game for at least a day. But seriously, I just throw them away. I don't care.
I have 2 kids. One I talk about on the show all the time is 5 years old, and the other is 20 months now. And he, when the older child is playing a game with me, wants to participate. And so I will hand him those advertising cards, which he crushes. And I don't care. But he feels like he is playing the game with us. I will also give him a die or 2 to roll. And I don't care as much if that falls on the floor, because I'll find it eventually. It's not the Mice and Mystics piece of cheese that is on the wheel right now and needs to stay there, and he shouldn't touch it. So I use it as a distraction.
I actually don't do that anymore. I used to give cards to my kids, and they're like, oh, we're going to take these and make our own game. But then my house becomes cluttered with cards. And rather, the kids should be blamed for that. And yet somehow it's my fault. So they no longer get the cards, extra cards. Anyone else? Those at home, you're thinking, if only I was there, I would ask a question.
You have to show
You
up
too.
to ask us a question.
Video listeners, not you, Jeff. I'm pointing at the camera. No one else? All right, well then, that's the end of today's show.
Yes, coming up next week, we have our top 10 convention games, another tale of horror, and lots more discussion live, or at least recorded live, from TotalCon.
Well, anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower. All right, well, that's the first one. Now we do the second one.
Doing this again?
Episode 2.
There are some nights, though, where we usually start recording at 8:30, and we often go to 11:30. But that's often because we just talk, and Eric says we should be recording, and you're talking about how long it takes to record.
Some of us are more long-winded than others.
No, but I mean, it is a chance where we talk about Dice Tower stuff, too.
Yeah.
And
it's like half meeting, half recording.
And on a very few occasions, we have recorded some of the show, and then one of us has said,
let's stop.
No, we haven't recorded.
Oh,
the record button
okay,
wasn't.
Yes, that is.
Wasn't.
We get through about 20 minutes of the show and realize that something has gone wrong, and half of the
problem with doing that is we go back and we try to do the same
we
reactions.
have the same conversations
it's like
we just had.
What, really? But it's,
okay.
That's always me. Have you ever done it? You never did it. That's always me.
Sometimes. I think once mine went fluky. I had a glitch.
All right.
Anyway, quick, give me a good movie pairing. A partnership.
Luke and Leia.
What was that?
No.
Please.
Oh yeah, that's true. The Lone Ranger movie coming out. Have we done that one before?
Oh no, I haven't. Okay. Am I rolling?
Which one am I?
Of course, you're the Lone Ranger.
This one I accept.
All right. So the crowd has just said, The Dice Tower, episode 296.
Oh, that's right. Our top 10 convention games. I wrote con games here in the thing. That's for our prisoners. Great games to play in prison. But anyhow, I accept that one. That is a good. Well,
They didn't actually get to hear it. Maybe I should announce you.
How should?
Let's do the end of the
right.
intro.
Have fun editing this.
I'm Eric Summerer, and here's your host, the Lone Ranger to my Tonto, Tom Vassell.
How is he the Lone Ranger though if Tonto's always with him? That's like solitaire for two.
It is. You're just going to keep harping on that game, aren't you?
I am. Be glad, publishers who are listening, that you did not publish it. Shameful. All right. But I looked online, and I'm the lowest rating by far. Everyone else seems to like it. Probably because anybody who wouldn't like it, like me, took a look at the box and didn't get it out.
You just couldn't get past the theme.
No, I like. All right, well, moving on. Let's talk about some games that we played recently.
Because this is a podcast about board games. He's Tom Vassell, I'm Eric Summerer, and we're live from TotalCon right now with a live studio audience. I'll prove it. Hi, everybody! Tom forgot.
Tom forgets a lot of things, so let's get him in. You can find our show at dicetower.com. You can join our guild. I really wish they wouldn't call them guilds, but it's basically a set of forums at BoardGameGeek.com, which is the largest website in the world and has tons of fantastic users and a few horrible ones. But in the Dice Tower Guild, our subset, the horrible ones dare not tread. Well, we have a few, but they have podcasts in our network, so we must allow them.
And it's a little confusing to get to guilds at Board Game Geek, but there's an easy way at dicetower.com. Click on a link. It'll take you right there.
All right. So anyway, we're here to talk about board games. We're going to start off with some of the best. There's a new game that just came out called Hirelings.
Oh, boy. Hirelings, The Ascent. This is from the folks that brought us Flapjacks and Sasquatches.
You know, and I felt really bad about that because I looked at the game and I was like, who made this? Well, then don't worry about what I said next. But I said, made this, we'll put in brackets, game. And then I looked and I saw it was made by Flapjacks and Sasquatches, which I was not awfully kind to way back when.
Let's talk about the theme, which I think the theme is nice. This is
Nodwick, the board game.
This is about all of the hired help that goes along with adventurers in a basic dungeon crawl. And the main heroes have made it all the way to the dragon's cave, and they woke up the dragon, and the dragon incinerated everyone. So all of the hired help is like, let's leave. And so they are trying to escape from the dungeon while the dragon pursues them with a giant fireball.
A curving, smart, ranged fireball.
Well, it does incinerate the entire tunnel.
But it also takes a shorter tunnel every time.
Yes, it does. It's a very smart fireball. And you are working your way through different locations on the board and fighting monsters and trying to work your way out.
No, I'm explaining the game now. On your turn, you roll a die, you move that many spaces. First one to the end wins.
Pretty much, yes.
You may also, on your turn, turn a card over from 8 random cards that you have, and that card will give you extra dice to movement, but you can only use it once per game. When will you use it? And then there's monsters all over the board with numbers on them. When you land or pass one of those monsters,
you roll another die.
You roll an 8-sided die, which is cool. And if you roll that monster's number or higher, you can keep going. Otherwise, you stop there. That's the game.
Then the fireball comes after you, and it rolls a die. And if the fireball rolls more than you, then it's going to catch up to you, and then you will not live.
And if you land on someone else, you can steal one of their cards, which means you should just use your cards as quickly as possible so no one can steal them. If the fireball catches up with you, you can spend a card to go one more space so it doesn't kill you. Clever.
Oh, I missed that in the rules. Maybe I should play it again. In case.
One. This is a one game. Well,
it's not a one. Okay, it's billed as a family game for the gamer family, which is no, that's not right.
That is what it's billed as.
Because if you are a gamer family, you've played enough games to be beyond this. I think it is better than Chutes and Ladders.
Okay, it's also better than vacuuming. No, it's not. Listen, I cannot give this one anything. The artwork is fine, but there are so many other games. If you say, well, it's good for people who don't like that many choices, but there are lots of games for people who don't like choices. You know, there's lots of simpler, easy games to get into that are fun and have enjoyable choices. This one has the humor factor going for it the first couple times. You stop at an ogre's den, which also doubles as...
It's a knitting palace, yeah.
No, the ogre's den, the troll's den doubled as
a magic,
theater or
yeah,
whatever.
It's a magic den. He puts on magic shows.
And then you lose a turn, which is... If I was making a list of things game designers should avoid, you should always avoid any kind of aspect where someone loses a turn. I mean, not just a blatant lose a turn, but if someone can't do anything on their turn, I think that's something for bad game design, because when you sit there and do nothing, you do not enjoy the game. It's just not fun.
Frustration factor is high here.
So anyway, I can't recommend it. I played it with kids.
I brought it here and played it.
Off on adults.
Yes.
I played it with kids, and they thought it was really boring and bad, especially when they all got killed by the fireball.
Yeah. It's not a recommend for me either. I'm trying to be nice.
And the fireball is an optional rule. That's the advanced game.
Yes, if you're playing with children, they suggest not using the fireball.
And then
they also suggest that if the kid beats the parent, like if the parent gets incinerated by the fireball and the kid comes in third, then the kid still wins.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they said that. If the parent wins but the kid doesn't, you can still let the kid win. I know that. Thank you. You don't need to tell me. All right. So that's one good game.
Hirelings: The Ascent is what it is called.
The next game I want to talk about is PI. This is a game designed by Martin Wallace. I got it at Board Game Geek Con because I figured it's Martin Wallace, and even if it wasn't any good, somebody would buy it back from me because he has his dedicated fans. PI is a deduction game very similar to Clue. Each person has their own thing. You're trying to figure out who committed the crime, what crime they committed, and where they committed it. But each person has a different set, and your neighbor has it. So you will ask kind of a question on your turn. There's a bunch of cards, and you'll say, did it happen in this spot? And then they will put a marker on the board that says basically, yes, you're right, or no, you're wrong, but it's in one of the adjacent spots. Or if they don't put any marker out at all, then you know, it's not there at all, which is still helpful because then you know it's on the other section of the board. It's really light. I mean, I think not. I enjoyed it. I thought the board was kind of distracting because it's orange, just this orange board. And so I would have liked a cleaner board where I could look and find things easier. I liked it. The people I played it with hated it. I won. But my winning, I mean, I didn't have anything to do with me liking it. I just thought it was interesting and fun to try to guess and narrow down choices. I'm a fan of deduction games anyway. Would I own it? No. It's not differentiated enough from other better deduction games. But I think we're not going to see much of it because Martin Wallace has his fans. This is definitely not his style, normal style, so those fans aren't going to flock to this, and other people aren't going to really find out about it. I don't think it's sold very much, so I don't even know why I bothered talking about it. Sorry. Well, in case you did hear about it, in case you did hear about PI, it was a decent game. It was, a good game, but not good enough in a field of better deduction games.
I've been playing a different children's game. Instead of foisting hirelings on my kids, we got Dweebies, which is a game that you and your kids have talked about quite a bit.
Yeah, I like Dweebies.
It's a card game, a card-laying game, and there's a bunch of different dweebies that all have different jobs and cute illustrations. I like the illustrations on this game. And each one's like, there's an astronaut dweeby and a surfer dweeby, and you're laying them down one at a time, and if you manage to get identical dweebies on two ends of a line, you capture that entire line and it goes in your score pile. And then you continue playing until all the cards are gone, and you count up who has captured the most cards. It's very simple. But I think the illustrations really sell it because you're forced to sort of describe the dweeb. This is the beauty pageant dweeby, and you're trying to arrange things that you get the most cards. You could try and play push your luck, that if you have two of the same dweeby, you can try and make that line longer and longer, but then somebody might capture a dweeby out of the middle of it, and it's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, but even more than that, the dweebies on the cards themselves, there's a number basically tells you how many dweebies of that type are in the deck.
Yes.
So some of them there's only one of, some there's three of. So if you've already seen two of those, you know that can't end the line, so you can put it somewhere safely. That's minor stuff, but for kids, see, this is the kind of game you should play with your kids over hirelings.
Sure.
Because this teaches decision making. It's not hard, but it teaches you something, not just roll a die and hope you survive.
Right. Yes, there's actually decision making, and you can play it very simply, ignoring those little dots that tell you how many there are. But once you realize that, you can start doing some of those higher strategic decisions, which will lead to bigger and more complicated games.
The last game I'm going to talk about is called Edo. It's from Queen Games.
Pronounced Edo.
From Queen Games. Edo's, is it really Edo?
Yeah,
Okay.
in the city in Japan.
You're right, I knew that. Okay, but anyhow, in this game, you are trying to score points, which is surprising. But you're not going to score a lot of points in this game. We're talking 20, 23 points. Points are hard to score. You get most of these points by building houses and different settlements in the different regions that you have in this game. To do so, you have these tiles. They're tiles that have 4 different sides. So on your turn, you're picking 3 actions. You take these tiles, rotate them to the action you want to take, and put them in order. And then you will do those 3 actions. I'll do one, you do one, and we go around the table. You can buy more of those tiles. That's one of the actions, to buy more of those. Other tiles give you resources and stuff. It's an interesting game, but it is more brutal than Age of Steam, I think. I have never played a game. I played many games before where people say, oh, I meant to put this piece here and this piece there. Can I take it back? And, 90% of the time we say yes, except for those people who are like, well, 5 turns ago, if I had known that. But in this game, I would say that was probably said 20 to 30 times by every single player. Even I said it a couple times. I'm like, whoa, I thought I had to do this first and this and and my brain melted by the time the game was over. So it's definitely not for me because it's more work than fun for me. But I can imagine that there's a crowd out there that will enjoy it. I think it's well designed, but oh my.
It's a good game. I like it a lot.
Oh, you've played it?
Yeah, I played it at Board Game Geek Con, and it's certainly very deep, and there's a lot of brain burniness to it. But I could see that depth, and it's certainly one that my group would enjoy. And I've been trying to get my
big shocker.
the guy who runs my game group to buy it, so I don't have to. But it is a very good game.
No, I can send you my copy. But
hey, sure, I'll take it.
No, but the did you have that thing where you ran into things where you're like, oh, I wish I'd played this tile first and this tile?
There were a couple, not nearly as many as you, but I got it after the first turn or two.
Okay, all right. Well, that's our last game. Let's move on to happiness, cheers, and giggles.
Gather round, children. My 2 children love playing Uno, but I've grown tired of it. There is very little strategy and few interesting choices to be made. So for Christmas, I got them the game Saboteur. One night, we played it for the second time in between rounds of Uno. Little did I know what was about to happen. Nothing could have prepared me for what took place. We decided to play 1 round instead of the usual 3. I was a gold digger. On his first turn, Luke blocked the path toward the gold cards. I immediately assumed that he was the saboteur. He's too young to understand the subtle strategy of pretending to be a gold digger at first and then revealing your true colors later in the game. I thought I will have to try to explain it to him later. That meant Leanna was my fellow gold digger. I immediately sabotaged Luke, and Leanna did as well. Luke had 2 or 3 sabotage cards in front of him for most of the game. I felt sorry for him as I watched him able to do nothing but discard turn after turn. He played a repair card or 2, but Leanna and I would immediately sabotage him again. Once or twice he gleefully sabotaged Leanna. I played a repair card for Leanna, and we slowly made a path toward the gold cards. I remember thinking, it was too easy. The gold diggers were sure to win at this rate. The first gold card was a bust, but as we made our way toward the one which I knew was the gold, time was running out. Then Leanna sabotaged me. I assumed that she just wanted to be the first one to reach the gold. I played a repair card and the game continued. We were only 1 card away from victory for the gold diggers, but I couldn't find a path card that would fit. Finally, the deck ran out and the saboteur won. Well, we know who the saboteur was, I said, meaning Luke. As we turned our player cards over, imagine my astonishment when it turned out that Luke was a gold digger and Leanna was the saboteur. How could this be? Luke had played like a saboteur and Leanna had played like a gold digger. It wasn't possible. Only after extensive questioning of them both the following day was I able to determine the horrible truth about what had happened in that game. Leanna, who was the saboteur, played almost like a gold digger because she wanted to be nice to me and didn't like playing sabotage cards on me. Of course, she had no problem sabotaging Luke. It's what brothers and sisters do, like playing a draw 4 card in Uno. Luke, on the other hand, was a gold digger. However, he wished very much that he were the saboteur. He wanted it so badly, in fact, that he decided to just play the game as if he were the saboteur. If only I had known that he was the gold digger, I had plenty of repair cards in my hand. With all those path cards he discarded, the gold diggers could surely have won. Since then, I have suggested playing Saboteur again, but now Leanna knows how much Luke likes the game, so she refuses to play it just to spite him. Luke loves the game and has begged me to play it with him, which I would gladly do, but it was not designed for 2 players. Now it's back to Uno! And scene.
Performance theater on the Dice Tower.
This is fun.
All right.
Can we do more of these?
Yeah, every show. Okay, what we're going to do now is something interesting, folks. If you go to BoardGameGeek.com, to the forums that we aforementioned, we're going to have a contest. We're going to start a thread there. In just a moment, James Fleming's going to explain how the game works, but I'm going to explain it again just so you get it twice. He's going to list several games, and you're going to tell us what is the common thread of those games. What's the same thing about those games? The first person to post that in the forum will get a fabulous Geek Gold. Okay? 30 Geek Gold from me. Well, that's the currency we have. That's the currency you get. But anyway, it's a fun type of game. Also, hopefully, by now, we have been playing What Were You Thinking on the forums. I promised to start that last Monday. Hopefully it happens.
So this is a forum game. People need to go to our guild at Board Game Geek
That's
to play.
correct.
Okay.
So anyway, on to James.
Let me do a quick save before we move on to the top 10
Now we're going to
list.
skip questions.
The Dice Tower Top 10 list is brought to you by Fun Again Games. Fun Again Games, the world's best game source at funagain.com.
All right, today we're talking about our top 10 convention games. But before we get to that, don't forget, folks, you can vote in the top 10 list by going to our website, dicetower.com. There's a new option there. I know that Russell has been working with that to clean it up to make it easier to work with. Our top 10 list that you can vote on currently, you have about a week left to vote in it, is top 10 science fiction games. That's a great category. Yeah, I know. I'm going to deliberately pick things that you cannot stick your games in. Okay, but anyway, I think science fiction has come around really well. I was saying the other day how I think there's so many space games out there, and I'm not sad about that at all. There used to be so few. Now they're everywhere, but I don't care. But anyway, to this top 10 list. In this top 10, we're talking about games played at conventions. Now, this was a tough one because, what's the criteria? You might like playing solitaire at a convention. I've not seen that. Although, wasn't there like a demo of B-17? I'm pretty sure that's a solitaire game. So,
Yeah,
I would not have imagined that was a convention game.
but if you've always wanted to learn to play, you can do that here.
Right. So the thing about convention games, and the way I built my list, it was games I play at conventions rather than anywhere else, or games I'm like, ooh, that's a game to play at a convention.
Yeah.
But before we do it, let's listen to our contributors. Who
At
said,
this point in the show, you would hear them talking. We're going to just summarize what they said.
D-Mocker, Twilight Imperium 3. He said, I like to play tournaments. Giles says, Dancing Eggs. I should bring that to everyone always asks me, what's that carton of eggs in your background of the videos? It's a game called Dancing Eggs, where you stick them under your armpit and then someone else has to do the same thing.
He specifically said playing Dancing Eggs at like a chess tournament. He listed a whole bunch of games that were totally inappropriate for the circumstance that he was in.
Giles is weird.
He
All
is.
right. Then the Snakes and Ladders guy said games they normally can't play. Diplomacy, Resistance, Party Game Pass. Gamecast people said Wits and Wagers. We didn't play test this at all. Twilight Imperium, Werewolf. Brian counters at Cosmic Encounter because I taught that to him this year at Dice Tower Convention, which, by the way, folks, we just passed our capacity for last year. So don't wait. Sign up now. Then they said Chevy Dodds Paper Route.
That's what he said. Chevy Dodds Paper Route is a pixelized, sort of like Paperboy, the old classic arcade game.
Flip is going to be here tomorrow. We wanted to have him on the show, but he's the Flip the Table podcast are the guys who play horrible games. They're going to be here tomorrow playing Settlers Twister.
Yeah, Catan Twister.
Oh, Catan Twister. Oh, okay, whatever. I'm not going to promise to play the game, but
But he's going to take video of it. Yeah.
No, I'm not. Mansions of Madness, Blood Bowl, Wits and Wagers, Silent Death, Battlestar Galactica, and role-playing games. Get off our show. All right. Okay, here we go. We're in.
Yes.
Okay, those are some good choices mostly, except Flip, I still don't know what you're talking about.
I want to see this game.
The one game I really wanted to put on my list, but I just couldn't, was Magical Athlete. It's
yes.
like my super secret one. But anyhow, here we go.
It made my short list as well, so.
Did it?
Yeah, you got some support there.
All right, well, let's get to it. Number 10.
My number 10 is going to show up on Tom's list shortly, so I will give him the initiative to continue.
Lame.
What?
My number 10 is a game I don't really like to play. However, I felt like I could not include it, and that's Diplomacy, because Diplomacy is a game in which, when you're done with it, there's a very good chance you will hate everyone involved, or at least a few people, very much so. Diplomacy is called the game that ruins friendships. So when you're at a convention, play with people who you're not friends with. Then when the game is over, you go home and you don't really care if they're mad at you or if you're mad at them, because you won't see them till next year when they come back for vengeance. But really, I think Diplomacy shouldn't be played between friends, because it really is that vicious of a game. But I think a convention's a good place to play it. I know they're running a Diplomacy tournament today or tomorrow here.
I think they've done a teaching game already.
Yeah, right. So anyway, that's my number 10.
Number 9. My number 9 is the We Didn't Playtest This series. Specifically, I'm talking about We Didn't Playtest This Legacies, but I think any one of the games in this series would work. Timing at conventions can be a little tricky. People have scheduled events, and you often have to find a small filler to bridge the gap between two different things you're scheduled for. And this is a perfect thing because they're like 5-minute long games, and people are doing silly things, and you don't have to know the person sitting next to you to force them to talk like a puppet and go like this, doing everything that they say, or otherwise they lose.
I'm not doing it.
You should do that, because now you have to do the entire top 10 list with a puppet hand. And for that reason, We Didn't Playtest This is an excellent example
There's a
of
reason
a fine convention
I have
game.
not played this game. I don't have it on my list. That's like, to me, it sounds like that 1,000 blank white cards.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's not happening. All right. Pitch Car is my favorite, is my number 9. I like Pitch Car, the game itself, the flicking the discs around, but at conventions you can see giant setups of Pitch Car. You know, really, I know they're doing one here during our Wits and Wagers game, so don't go to it. But but Pitch Car is just a neat game to flick those discs, and you can play with a lot of people. And you normally can't set up something that big at your house, but you can at the convention. I will fire you. Number 8.
My number 8 is a HABA game called Schnapp. This is a game in which you launch a wooden disc on a little catapult, and the wooden discs are kept face down. There's, I believe, 4 different teams, and on one side of the disc is a color. And you launch the disc, and while it is flying in the air and flipping around, you have to decide whether it's your color or not. And if it's yours, you need to catch it. This is a game for children, but if you play this...
Did you bring it?
I did not. I don't actually own a copy of this.
Did
I need to.
bring it? Did you bring it?
I should. If you play this with adults, late at night, after some of them have consumed maybe some adult beverages, in a dim convention atmosphere, you have Combat Schnapp, and it is quite the experience. And certainly something I'm not going to do at home, because you can't play this in the lobby of a hotel with a 2-floor atrium like you can at a convention.
All right.
Schnapp. It's my number 8.
I'll talk about my number 8 much later, because it falls onto Eric's list also.
And you make fun of my
Do it.
hints? Number 7 for me is Tom's number 8, and that is Flower Fall. And this one it's fun on its own, the way it's intended, I say with air quotes, where you're dropping cards onto a table trying to do a little bit of area control and claim flowers. But the way we have discovered this game is meant to be played is over a balcony, or from a second floor onto a first floor. Especially if you don't block off the area and just let people wander into the gameplay space, and then you yell at them, "Get out of the way!" and they freak out. Flower Fall, epic Flower Fall, as we have played it, is quite the experience and a great convention if you have the right space. You don't want to disrupt all the traffic in the hotel.
Yeah, we couldn't think of a way to do it.
We couldn't really do it here, but if you can find a good and somewhat out of the way corner to make it happen, Flower Fall is really a great con game.
I thought about, we're going to be doing it at Board Game Geek Con again this year, and I thought about doing it at Dice Tower Con, but dropping cards on an international drive could be problematic. My number 7 is Time's Up. Time's Up is a party game that makes people scream with laughter, sometimes just scream. There's multiple versions of it. There is Time's Up Title Recall, which is my favorite one because it's with titles of books and songs rather than people.
Right.
And then there's even a little miniature one, Time's Up with games, game names and game designers. That's an older, it's like 5 years old now, so, more modern people might not be in it. That sounds funny to say. But But that's something I could only play at conventions, because if I play, let's play the one with board games, and my mom's like, what is this crokinole thing? And but with gamers that could be fun to go back and forth. Also, I will do well at that one. But Time's Up is just a really fun game. I played it at many conventions, laughing, lots of fun, back and forth. You can get a good partner, hopefully one that will talk to you after the game is over, because you did not know who Robert E. Lee was. But that's Time's Up.
Number 6 for me is The Resistance. I saw a lot of people playing Battlestar Galactica here, and that's a fun, epic convention game, but this sort of distills that down into a much shorter gameplay. And The Resistance is best with a large group of people, and you're more likely to find that large group here at a convention. So if you're looking for some intrigue, perhaps, and maybe getting mad at people you don't know, this is an excellent opportunity to play The Resistance, my number 6.
I actually disagree with Eric. I think The Resistance is not necessarily better with more people. I think it plays perfectly fine with 5 or 6. So I don't think that it's necessarily a convention game, also because of my number 2, which we'll get to later. My number 6 is Memoir 44, same as Eric, except being very specific here, Memoir 44 Overlord. If you're going to play Memoir 44 Overlord, which is a great team game, which someone, by the way, emailed us and said, why did you not mention this in a question about team games? It's because I'm a moron. I forgot about it. It's a great team game to work together against another team. Team Dice Tower is now 0 and whatever. We have not yet won.
Yeah, well,
that's because commanding generals and such on the team. I've not yet played for the team. I'm just a referee, so I'm going to have to take the reins one of these years.
Yes, and the only time...
It will still be 0 and whatever.
The only times I've played this is at convention settings, at Origins, and it is really fun because of that command and activation phase, communications. The person leading the team, the general, has to only talk to one of the 3 players, and so the other 2 are left trying to figure out what they're supposed to do based on the cards that they get. So it is a very different game from the basic 2-player Memoir 44. I like it a lot.
I'm going to try to set up a game at Dice Tower Convention. Richard Borg will be there.
Ooh.
So we'll say Dice Tower versus Borg.
Versus the Borg.
We would so lose.
Of course we would. Especially if I'm on the team.
Go.
My number 5 is going to show up on Tom's list in a little bit, but I'll wager that it won't be too long.
You should have said in a little bet.
A little bet? That's good. Hang on.
5.
My number 5 is going to show up on Tom's list in just a little bet. so I'll wager it won't be too long.
Okay. My number 5 is Faces. Faces, of course, this is the same thing I say every time I bring up Faces on a top 10. This is the Tom Vassell Faces, a party game in which I have like 500 different faces on cards, and we mix them up, and we basically play apples to apples with faces. But it always brings out a laugh. I have it here with me. I will be playing it tonight, maybe, or at least tomorrow for sure. So, I don't know. I can't say much more about it than that, although I'm working on my next custom game.
Oh.
There was, I think I talked about it a few episodes ago, called Cuckoo Chef. I don't know if you remember that. In Cuckoo Chef, basically, the game, it's a game right game. It comes in one of those little tins.
Yeah.
That's in our top 10 list. But in this game, there's a bunch of ingredients that you hand out to everybody, and then you'll say, someone will be the judge, and he'll turn over and say, worst sandwich. And then each person picks 3 ingredients, and they put them on the table, and then the judge will look at them and say, that is the worst sandwich. Or it might say, best sandwich, whatever. So I thought, there's only like 50, 60 cards in the game. I said, come on. So I'm going to make one with 300 different ingredients, from everything from motor oil to, Limburger cheese to something. So
that sounds good.
Coming in 2016. Because that's how long it's going to take me to Photoshop all the pictures. And
Yep, in your spare time.
I don't do anything but play games. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. That was Faces.
Number 4 for me is Heroescape, a game that I don't get to play very often at home. I've been just sort of collecting figures, waiting for my son to get a little bit older before I do it. But one of the toughest parts about Heroescape is building all that terrain in some sort of reasonable time frame. So what better thing to do than to just bring the figures that you want to play with and let somebody else build the terrain at a convention? It's perfect.
Can't argue with that logic. My number 4 is Cash and Guns. Now, emphasize that you make sure the people running the convention know what's going on.
Yes.
It might be better, even though I like the black guns, to use the orange ones. But Cashing Guns is a game where you basically are pointing guns at each other and acting the end of, what movie is that? Reservoir Dogs, is it? And you all want money in the middle. It is great fun. I really can't explain it. You have to play it. It's really just I mean, we all know that pointing fake weapons at each other is fun. I don't know why. This would probably be used as in some, what I'm saying right now will probably be clipped out and put on CBS in the current gun debate. But this is just a game, and it's really silly and fun. And I played it with people who are very anti-gun, and they were gleefully sticking it against my temple. Now maybe that's just me, but it's interesting. So Cash and Guns.
My number 3, I haven't had a chance to play yet, though I've brought it this year, and that is a dexterity game from Canada. It's known as the curling table game. It's a big, giant, one-piece sheet of wood, I think, that's painted like a curling sheet, and then you've got these ball-bearing plastic pieces that you're sliding along and taking turns. You can play it as an 8-player game, you can play it as a 2-player game, and when you get this set up, it really draws people in. You grab 2 people and start throwing stones, and people walk by and go, whoa, what's that? Is that curling? Can I try? Where are the miniature sweepers? We're going to hear that like 8 times when we play the game.
He's just kidding. No one stops by. Everyone just, they walk around the table in a wide berth.
And by the time you're done playing, you've got 8-person teams or 4-person teams. You've got an 8-player game going, and everyone's having a great time. I love my curling table game. It's a great con game. Number 3.
My number 3 is a group of games, and that's mega games. And what I mean by mega games is the games that you can't play anywhere else but a convention because you can't store them in your house. For me, the one I thought of was Shadows over Camelot. Days of Wonder used to have this beautiful 3-dimensional castle. Mayfair always has gigantic Settlers games at their different conventions. I saw Giant Ticket to Ride. Those are things you will only play at conventions unless you are crazy enough to own a copy. And you're like, let's bring out the game.
Yeah.
You can't do that, but you can do it at conventions, and I think that's a cool feature.
Yeah, one thing I've seen here at TotalCon, at least maybe last year or 2 years ago, was one of those double-blind setups of Axis and Allies. And they had 2 boards set up side by side with a giant piece of cardboard in between them so that moves could be made on one side without the other side seeing it. And I don't know, maybe people do that on a weekend at home, but it seems kind of unwieldy outside of a convention environment.
That's really close to being committed material. But I mean, you can only do it at conventions, so
yeah.
Go for it.
My number 2 is a lovely, hang on, I just kicked the table and it made a terrible sound. My number 2 is a game that actually couldn't be found on Board Game Geek. It shows up on the role-playing side. On RPG Geek, it's called...
Error, you can't use this on the list then.
No, I can. I can do it.
All right.
I have an exception 32-5. Look it up. While you look it up, I'm going to talk about Parsley games. These emulate the classic text parser-based adventures like Zork from the 80s, or the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy game. One player has the game, which is basically just a laminated sheet of cardstock, and they are running this, acting as the computer. Everyone else at the table, and it can be a group anywhere from 2 other people to 100 other people. We could do it in this room, and then just go from person to person, and each person gives a command. Go west. Take cell phone. And then the computer person responds either correctly as you move from room to room, or I don't know how to shut up, you stupid computer. It's a really fun experience.
I said that.
It is. It's a good time. And you can get all different scenarios for the Parsley series of adventures. I'm already signed up at ConCon to do this, and I'm looking forward to it.
You have your own picture as your background.
Yes, because when clients come in, I use this for voiceover, and when clients come and use my iPad, they go, hey, that's you. It's neat.
Okay, number 1. It's a good game, though. Good game. So I'm sorry. My number 2 is Eric's number 1. Ow!
My number 1 is, as you may have guessed, Werewolf. This is a game that I only play at cons, and it is, you almost have to only play it at cons. I've tried to play this in just a living room with some friends, and it's maybe 6 or 8 people. And while you can do it, it just isn't quite the same. You need a large village. It takes a village to play werewolf.
Wow. No, this really is one of the best convention games. I mean, I play it a lot in youth group and different things. We got some questions from parents. But Werewolf is, there's so many different things. Ted Osbach comes out with some new cards for Werewolf, like, I think every Monday. I got another Ultimate Werewolf with more rolls, and we might see some of those rolls tonight.
Wow.
In our game. Yeah, I know. It just cracks me up. But there's so many different ways to play it. But the basic concept, are you a liar? Is basically what the game should be called, and it's fun. So, my number 1 is Wits and Wagers. I'm sure we're all surprised there. It's fun. To me, I never play Wits and Wagers outside conventions anymore. I only play at the big game shows because it's so much fun to play that way that when I play it as a normal game, it's like, oh man. I'm waiting for someone to walk around and throw chips or groups of people to argue over which answer they should answer. This is the game that kills Trivia Pursuit. I mean, kills it, buries it, erases the name on the tombstone. Wits and Wagers is really where it's at. We're running a game here. We're running one at Origins. We're running one at Dice Tower Convention. I mean, it's my one staple of conventions. Someone asked last episode, what games do I make sure I play? And Wits and Wagers is always on the list. So,
I've never played it in a convention. We always run it.
Well, I've done both. I played it, and when I play it, I like causing grief to the people who run it. And so I expect
so they're
the same.
All right, you
run.
Yahoo! You stop heckling over here, and you run the game.
You run it. No, I used to be on a team with Alan Moon, and Mr. Cranky, and one other person, and then there was the anti-vassal players,
yes,
led by Joe Stedman and Sam Healy, and it was good. It was good. We never win, except I played Werewolf last year, and we rocked. We destroyed the other teams. I'm bragging. Let's go.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the People's Choice selections, and we're going to see who scored the most. Are you playing with the extra rules where we match contributors too?
I did say we were going to do that.
You said you were going to do that.
I didn't even do that. So we'll do that next time.
All right.
All right. People's Choice number 10 was Cash and Guns.
Matches Tom.
Then number 9, they said, was Settlers of Catan.
That surprised me a little bit, but I guess there are lots of tournaments that show up at
there's
cons.
a lot of tournaments have the regionals for the different Settlers of Catan, and so I can see why people put that on their list.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 8 is Battlestar Galactica, which we've seen played like 4 times here already. And then, wow, my thing just shut down.
Number 7 is Pitch Car, which matches Tom.
Hooray! That means I'm winning. Number 6 is King of Tokyo, which I really struggled. I almost put that on my list too, because King of Tokyo is one of those games that you can go to a convention and play with other people. Very easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 is Seven Wonders. Now, this one, look, I like Seven Wonders as much as the next person, but we need to get over this Seven Wonders love affair. It's fun, it's interesting, but let's move on to more interesting games. Boy, that sounded mean.
Yeah, no, that sounded really mean.
That did.
I still like Seven
It didn't
Wonders.
matter. It's not a convention game. It's not a convention game. You can play it at home.
It's 7 players, though. I mean, the larger groups of people. Okay.
Poor choice, people.
Wow.
Number 4 is Twilight Imperium 3, because that's the only place you can play it is at a convention or with that guy who lives in his mom's basement. Boy, I need to stop talking.
Wow.
Cody Jones, who plays every month.
This is the most controversial, combative
No, that was
Tom Vassal I have seen.
I like Twilight. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm not feeling that well. Number 3 is Resistance. That's points for Eric.
Yay.
I gave him a lot of points because it almost matched him exactly. Number 2 was Wits and Wagers, and number 1 was Werewolf, which gave us lots of points. And Eric wins with 24 to my 30.
Wait.
Wait.
No. Yeah, you win.
30 for me. I am in agreement with the people.
So, one advantage of doing the live show here, though, is that we've talked about a whole bunch of games, but maybe you guys have one that we missed, and the contributors missed, and all the People's Choice voters missed. So, where's our Vanna? Any games that we missed?
Does anyone here want to talk about a game at a convention that you think we should have talked about? Or would you like to refute me publicly?
You were going to say time's up?
That's what I emailed it.
Nope. Apparently we all got it right.
All right, well, folks. Now this is a fake ending. Well, folks, that's it for this time. Next time we'll be back in our regular rooms. Me in my terrible heat of Florida, and Eric in the wonderful cold of Connecticut.
All this week you've been saying, or all so far this whole weekend, all you've said is, how do you people live up here?
Yes, I don't understand it.
Why do you live here? It's cold.
Yeah, I'm in Florida. It got to 45 this past weekend, and people were like scarfing and mittens and stuff. It was funny.
Boo-hoo.
Oh, I'm not. I was going out in shorts. All right. Anyway, folks, until next time, my name is Tom Vassell.
And I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower. Now we're going to answer a few questions. We have about 10 minutes that we're going to answer some questions that we would do on the show.
Hang on, let me stop. And I'm rolling.
Okay, Jeff says, I thought it'd be interesting to get your viewpoints on this. He has a bi-weekly gaming meetup. He uses Meetup. He loves his group. And sometimes his own grade school kids come and hang out for a bit. Someone new to the meetup came and they suggested bringing a game that he thought was not age appropriate for kids. So he said he didn't really want that to be around them at this meetup. So he says he would like to tell people that when he schedules the next meetup, please don't bring that particular game, or just to, or he didn't even want it there even after the kids had left. The person said, I'll bring it, we'll just wait till the kids leave. So he wants to know, is it okay to exclude a game? Well, I do that all the time, but for different reasons. He says he doesn't consider himself a prude, but is this acting like one? Because if hosting a game night requires doing this, he would really just rather stop hosting public meetups.
Wow, it's tricky, but I mean, if it's your meetup,
I don't think it's tricky at all.
You
it's
have
your
the
house,
right to
your rules.
Yeah.
If you want to tell people, don't smoke here, don't drink, don't curse in your house, whatever. I mean, it's your house, and if people really have a problem with that, they do not have to come to your house.
What if you're hosting at a public venue?
Well, that's different. I'm saying here he's talking about having it at. Is it at his house? He said he would stop hosting it. Oh, I see. It's at a public thing.
It's a public
Like,
forum.
we have somebody local that does it at church. So, like, obviously, they're like, you can't play certain types of games.
True.
I play cash and guns at my church. The pastor is pointing a gun at my head. Thank you, sir. I think that if you're hosting it, wherever it is, you set the ground rules, but you should make those expectations clear.
Well, I mean, you can certainly say that, yeah, it may be past most children's bedtimes, but you really don't know who's going to show up to a public meeting. And so if there's a certain standard that you want to set for age appropriateness, then you can say that all the games played at this meetup need to fit that criteria. And it's your meetup. If they want to do a different meeting, then they can do that.
Yeah, if you let one person push you on that sort of thing, and you're afraid of offending them, and then that person could effectively drive away other people because they can push you around. I'm pretty strict on my meetups on some things. I'll say, we do this or that, but for the most part, if you're lax and everything else, like at my meetup, you're allowed to put drinks all the way up next to the game. And I don't care because I've stopped caring about that a long time ago, and people like that. So if I say to them, let's tone down with the language with these kids running around here, let's try not to, turn this into a profanity central. I think I can say that. I can't say that at the local game store, but I did manage to get the Warhammer players banned from the store during our meetup, which has dropped the profanity level by 2,000%.
Oh, wow. I mean, on the other end of this, if you want to have a
Sorry to all
meetup
Warhammer players.
that is more conducive to that, if you want to be able to play those games that are more adult appropriate, then you need to also set the ground rules in that direction. I know Board Game Geek Con has a 13 plus rating on it.
Right.
Kids under 13 are not able to come to Board Game Geek Con, so that some of those more age inappropriate games can get played if people want to bring them. There aren't any rules about that there. It's
That's
not like
Steve Avery
it's
can show
crazy, but they have set up the convention to be more in that direction.
Right. There's going to be like a 50-page thread on this on Board Game Geek
what game
this
are they
week.
talking about?
Well, he mentioned specifically Cards Against Humanity. But I mean, it could apply to a lot of different games. It could apply to Boosin' Memo, or whatever, Okay, next one. Oh, this guy says he's a devoted follower of your shows. Anyway, he listens while chasing ice bears off his lawn or whatever I do in a normal day here in Sweden. Anyway, he plays lots of games with his gaming group, especially his oldest two, which are 9 and 11 years old, his kids.
Oh, okay, yes.
He says, as all kids, they dislike losing. He doesn't think it's anything unusual, but they will sometimes avoid a game after losing just once or twice. He does not like to beat them. Sorry, reading it out of context. But on the other hand, he doesn't want them to get the feeling that he lets them win. He doesn't want them to get used to always winning either, but it's good to see them happy after having beaten me. What advice should we give him? And then he says some stuff in Swedish, which I can't pronounce. I can't pronounce the stuff in English. I think the number one thing I'd say is play cooperative games. It's a win-win
Yes,
because
that's
you're all working together.
Yep.
And secondly, do what, I don't know. I mean, you got to teach your kids how to lose. I mean, if you let your kids win, that's just, it's awful. I mean, because then they're going to go and they're going to be a pain to whatever game group they join someday because they never learn to lose in your house. Now, I'm not saying to wipe the floor with your kids, although every once in a while I do just to show Dad's still on top. But I have thrown games to my kids, or I not thrown games, but I often play suboptimally. I'll try some weird strategy. I'll do something odd. If I have an attack card, I'll play it on the person who I think can handle it maybe a little bit better than the person who will explode in tears and sadness. But when they lose, I refuse to allow them any kind of, oh, well, it'll be better next time stuff. It's like, no, listen, you lost. It was a fun game. Get over it. Your sister beat you. And at the same time, I do not allow the winning sister to...
Yeah. Good winner, good loser.
Good winner,
is
good
a big
loser.
deal. Yeah, I mean, 9 and 11 seems like the age that you should be being a little more real. I don't think you want to let them win. 5?
No, but let's say you're beating them all the time, then
Yeah.
you might consider that. But cooperative games, that's where it's at. It's a good way for you all to work together. And then throw in a traitor to bring family unity. Can you imagine? Dylan says he's starting a board game club at his high school and wants a good game that everyone can play. Wait a minute, why is he asking this? Okay, never mind. Tyson says this. He says, European-style games are called Euro games, and American-style games are called Ameritrash. What's up with the negative connotation of American-style games? He says he understands it's an old term that probably stems from games like Life and Monopoly, but not everyone likes all games. Wouldn't the hobby be better off saving the trash moniker for actual trash games? Well,
yes.
this old story of naming games, when the Euro games, as I call them, and that's what most people call them nowadays, when they first came out, there was this argument over what to call them online all the time. Most people called them German games. That was the term I saw more than anything else. But there was a select group of people who called them, in my opinion, the worst game name of all was TGOO, which was These Game of Ours, which is such an elitist, annoying term because you're like, oh, our games are better than yours. So it eventually morphed into Euro games. So that's just the way it is. Because most of them came from Europe, even though nowadays a good chunk of them come from America.
It's more of a style than a specific location these days.
Ameritrash was a phrase that came up on Board Game Geek 4 or 5 years ago. It was started by a group of annoying people who wanted to make a stand against the elitism of the Euro gamers, which did exist at that time. They kind of turned their nose up at anything with dice. They mocked anything Eagle Games came out with when Eagle was coming out with Attack, and there was somewhat of a kerfuffle, of which I was aware of at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that kerfuffle exploded and big deal. But the Ameritrash name just took place. Is it negative connotation? I guess, but what else are we going to do? I mean, I'm not going to worry about what we call them. It's not.
Well, and there was a certain push against it for a while. And like, why are we calling this Ameritrash? Shouldn't we be more positive? And I think at some point, about a year ago, you gave up too.
I was calling them thematic games, but I mean, even now, you really can't tell the difference. They're just games. Now, I still call a Euro game one. I mean, it's
a pure Euro game has.
Here, I'll try to start calling them snooze fests.
Nice.
And that's a less detractive term, right?
You think so?
No, I don't know what. You know what? We're going to do our definitive 33 categories of game podcast because it's been, what, like
since
6 years since Joe that we did that. We'll have to set that up at some point. But really, it is what it is. You can try to make a crusade to change the name all you want. That will not work. Will not work. Jeff says he loves our podcast. I like reading this stuff, okay? But, okay, I'm not reading Jeff's.
Last
Carl
one.
says, Todd says, no, Sarah says, my husband loves board games. She says, during the winter months, I love being warm and cozy every night rather than sitting at a table and playing games. Do you have any recommendations for good games that can be played in a small space like a TV tray while on a couch or in bed? That's a good question.
Okay.
So far, I found that Roll Through the Ages is a pretty good fit, but even a game like Lost Cities is too big for that space. So as soon as I read that, I said, Roll Through the Ages, and that's ruined.
Yeah. They always take the good answer.
Sorry, I'm waving an iPad.
Okay.
I mean, really, the iPad works. If you're going to snuggle up in bed, you can play Ticket to Ride, you can play Le Havre.
The pieces don't fall off when you tilt
it. Get an iPad.
Well, speaking of which, Can't Stop was free on Valentine's Day. The Can't Stop app from Playdeck, and I grabbed that, and I've been playing that a lot on the couch with various family members.
All right. I'm not a huge fan of Can't Stop, but
I like it.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of other games that you can play in a small area on a bed. Maybe someone here has one they could shout out. Yes.
Hive.
Yeah, but they said fun.
But that could work. Although, what do you do when it expands just to the edge of the table? You might have to shift things. You could probably shift things around without too much trouble.
That's a good question of the week, though. Tangentially, how do you guys play games when the tiles go to the edge of the table? Do you play with a natural barrier? I've seen people pull up another table and extend off onto that table. Other people, I don't know.
We'll have to table that for now. Any other suggestions? What was that? Mage Tower?
That's too many cards out. It's got to be something that it's really condensed and small. Oh, Love Letter. Love Letter.
Love Letter would work.
That would work, yes.
Love Letter would work. There's a couple of
then
Ice House games
you won't talk to each other
that would
when,
work. Some of the more recent Ice House games that play on a tiny little 3x3 mat or a 4x4 mat, they could work pretty well, too.
Merchants of Venus?
That would be a no. Not unless you shrunk it.
All right, let's get to the next question.
Merchant of Venus Pocket.
Which we will do later when you guys aren't around. If we feel like it. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's it. Once again, the battery ran out, so we need to do that thing again.